Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the DMV Daily Show. I'm your man, Mr. Politics, aka Hassan Giordano. We're back in the house as usual with another Power Pack program. Of course, my co-hosts are nowhere to be found because they're always non-punctual. So I'm going to be on time, and I got to make sure my grammar is correct today because we got a teacher on who will correct my ass every time that I'm wrong. As you know, we are broadcasting live from New York City. Maybe that's the mix up with the co-hosts, right? We're in New York. They got to get here. They got to do what they got to do. Ivan Bates is chasing the bag, so we'll see if he's going to catch up. We're going to catch up with Richard Deshae Elliott as well on the program. Remember, tonight is a Power Pack show. We have a city council candidate who is running over there in the 12th Councilmatic District. If you don't know what district that is, it's in East Baltimore, and it's probably your district, especially if you have very poor services going on. You can probably best you're in the 12th district. She's going to talk to you about her candidacy on the 12th district in this upcoming general election on November 3rd. We also have, and I made a mistake, and I want to correct it now because I've been getting phone calls that I'm all of a sudden in the Brandon Scott camp because I made a mistake that I didn't even know it happened on our promo for the show tonight. It does say the next mayor of the city of Baltimore, Brandon Scott. It should have said presumptive mayor, Democratic nominee, Brandon Scott. So for the Shannon Wright camp and for the Bob Wallace camp, my apologies. That was not on purpose. I'm not in the Brandon Scott camp because I made a mistake. I'm letting you know I made a mistake. I know even when I'm right, even when I'm wrong, I'm right. But I got to let you know that, I do make mistakes every now and again. Mark will tell you I'm always right. That he hates it that I'm always right. But I'm sure he'll always say he's always right. So, but he's never on time. Let's tell you that. He might think he's always right, but he's never on time. Ain't that right, Mark? Mark. See, look, he's on the thing and he don't even hear me. You want me to call you by Jason? Oh, there he goes. So, him and his bootleg internet, he must have boots. Richard Deshae Elliott, what's happening, Cap?
What's good, Hassan? I am currently in a hotel in Lynchburg, Virginia to match your Appears hotel in New York City.
Hey, look, we can do the hotel party. That's what I'm talking about.
Here, for the proof, they don't have radiators anymore, but hotel AC.
Oh, wow. That's an old school hotel. Man, I feel for you, brother. I got all the amenities, flat
cool.
TVs. And
I'll be here for a day, and I have a laptop with movies, and I got schoolwork I got to do anyway.
What are you down there for, the campaign?
No. I'm down here. My great-grandmother passed, so I'm here for waking her funeral.
Ah, okay. I'm so sorry to hear that, brother.
It's okay. But, yeah, so this is the first time I've been back in Central Virginia in it's been a while. It's been so long since I've been down here. Hi, Tio, if you could hear us.
Hola, Sabrino.
Oh, you can hear us now?
Now I can. I had to get off and come back.
Oh, okay. So now you get okay. All right, just making sure. I pumped you up, brought you all in with a good intro, and then you made me look stupid because you couldn't hear.
The one time, Frank, I'm sorry to leave you with these beasts.
Please don't abandon me.
Welcome.
So, as promised, ladies and gentlemen, and he's so rudely interrupted, I haven't introduced our special guest tonight. You just blew it all over again.
I'm sorry,
guys. About being on time. You wouldn't do that, but
I was trying to set up the computer.
So, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful young lady on the left of your screen is the city council candidate in the 12th district. Her name is Franca and Muller Paz. She's running in Baltimore City's 12th Councilmatic District as a Green Party candidate. She's from Peru. She came through New Jersey, northern New Jersey, she'll tell her story, to Philly. Then she came to Baltimore. You already know what time it is. Once you go Baltimore, you never go back. So she had to go back. And she's a teacher. She's shaping the young minds of our young men and women over there at City College. Sorry, Poly folks, but we ain't messing with y'all tonight. father of our city tonight. And so, Franklin, we want to thank you for coming on to the show and welcome you. Is this the first time on the program? Welcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me on. I'm so excited to be able to be here.
Absolutely. So tell those who are watching who you are and why you decided to jump in the race. And I do want to ask a question right after that because I'm curious about this Green Party thing, but we'll get into that after your introduction.
Absolutely. Well, you introduced me a little bit. So I'm a teacher. I've been teaching in public schools for the last 10 years and also been an elected building representative within the Baltimore Teachers Union for 3 consecutive terms. So I've been really, really deep into the education of our students. But even before that, I got to Baltimore here in 2006 and was organizing with the organization Casa de Maryland, trying to do some work around labor and doing really tough work, which is trying to bring in, union type structures to a workforce. It's really hard to unionize. And so I really took that experience and brought it into my life as I became a teacher. And when I was in Philadelphia, I tried to unionize my charter school, but they pulled a little bit of a McDonald's, and instead of allowing the union effort to go forward, they did close the school and then reopen it a couple years later, no more union. And in that whole sort of mess, I came back to Baltimore. I heard there was a position at opening up that city and was super excited to be able to come back to the city. And I love Baltimore, so I'm so glad to be here. And yeah, so that's a big part of how I got here to be here today.
So the first question I have to ask, you're running in against an incumbent, Democratic incumbent over there in the 12th. He's the first term incumbent by the name of Robert Stokes. He had about 50 candidates running against him in the primary, and he squeaked past Philip Westry by about, if I'm not mistaken, 300 and some odd votes. This is your first time running for office, am I correct?
It is. You
decided not to get in that crowded Democratic primary, which I applaud you from doing because that was way too many people. But, I'm a lifelong independent. I flirt back and forth with the Democratic Party only when it suits me and when I feel like it. But I'm really an independent at heart. So my question is, I always want to see a third party win in this city. I think it's time for that to happen and to break up this Democratic monopoly. But why the Green Party instead of running as an independent?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think for one thing, it's important to recognize that I think people are tired of corrupt structures that are happening in our Democratic Party. We have Democratic representation that has been taking money from developers in our city, from corporations in our city. And a big plus of the Green Party is that that's not what we do. We know that we're not going to take any corporate money. We're not going to take any corporate PAC money. And so it enables to really structure a race that's run by the people, funded by the people, and fought for the people for when we get into office. So it's really a huge honor to be able to run with the Green Party. And even personally, in ways that it's affected my life, I am sick and tired of politicians that are taking money from these corporations. So we've been fighting a big fight, for example, with Comcast. And I'll tell you right now that if we look at a lot of our representation in City Hall, a lot of our representation in the State House and in the state delegates, we're going to see candidates that are taking money from Comcast. And so when Comcast gets a sweetheart deal where they get a 10-year franchise agreement that gives them almost monopolistic power in our city, control over, clientele, control over the costs, subjecting our students and their families to low speeds that don't allow them to actually get online and be able to participate in digital learning. A big part of their ability to do that is because they are buying into the corporate election structure. And so I personally feel really disgusted that that's something that we have to deal with within our political reality. And so I'm excited to be a Green and to make sure that we're, turning our head away from that kind of funding and purely focusing on bringing up funding through smaller donations from teachers, from former students of mine, and really being able to say that we're funded for the people and we're going to be fighting for them too.
Good answer. answer I couldn't even really argue with, to be quite honest. Shout out to my boys Owen and Andy, who are running things down there at that Green Party. Look, I got to give it to them, right? As much as I used to push for the Independent Party, they have been pushing 80 times more for this Green Party year after year, making sure y'all get the signatures to get back onto the ballot. I mean, they are really doing their thing over there. And, you know, kudos to them for what they're doing. And for you talked about fundraising, which really impressed me. I'm looking at the campaign finance, and we were talking before the show, and you saw I went through y'all's with a fine-tooth comb. That's all the people that donated to you. That's why I said, yeah, she must be a teacher. But your opponent has $6,338. Now, he is an incumbent, so I'm sure he can raise some money fairly quickly, especially if he goes to Jack Young and says, whatever you got left over, just give it to me, because that is his ally. But you have really impressed in a very limited amount of time. For a Green Party, third party type of candidate, you've raised over $48,000, $50,000 with in-kind contributions, $40,000 still left on hand. Matter of fact, you had so many credit card charges from small donors. You had that was about a third of what the incumbent has in money alone. So what is yours? I want to know what the secret is to all this fundraising, because that has definitely been a weak hold of mine is fundraising. I want to know what the secret is. What's going on over there?
Yeah, so the secret is that we get people really pumped up and excited. And when people get involved in our campaign, we really make them feel like they're a part of our campaign. We have a WhatsApp group where we organize with our super volunteers. There's 100 of them in that WhatsApp. We are organizing with our volunteers on Slack. We have 270 organizers on our Slack. And when we say, hey, like it's crunch time, like let's get this money because this is what we need to win in November, folks really go out for it. And that's how by the 18th, we had 800, not individual donations, individual donors to our campaign. And today we're at just about 900. I think we're maybe one or two short. So if anyone wants to stop by francaforthepeople.com and top us off at 900, go ahead.
You are a pro.
That's what I'm talking about. So, and Evan, I'm going to get to that reflection in a minute. Mark, you got some kind of background coming from your.
No, I think that's Richard. It's completely quiet in here. There's no one even home.
No, when I mute you, it goes. Are y'all on the same phone together or something?
No. Because
okay.
I can't hear what Franca says, so I have your live stream going on my computer, and I have to be on the one with Francho and PGCY Dems at the same time. So I have the Francho one on my computer too, but I have them both muted right now.
Tell Francho to go. Well, we ain't gonna talk about that. Right
Don't do that. Don't do that.
We're gonna do that right now. Look, we all know where we stand with our great comptroller, but we ain't worried about him right now. We worried about Franco. We're gonna get to certain requests in a couple of minutes from you, Franco, because I see the request. I already had that written down after I did some research on you, so I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But I do want to give Mark and Richard an opportunity to chime in and ask any questions they may have.
Well, I will say this, Franca. If your goal is to get the Democrats scared of you, you have certainly mission accomplished. I am a, full disclosure, member of the Baltimore City Democratic Central Committee, and I got a threatening inbox because I liked a status about you. Mind you, pushing me is the wrong way to go. You're going to make me a Franca donor inboxing me nasty stuff. But the fact of the matter is that someone on the executive committee of the Maryland Democratic Party took the time to send me an inbox on Facebook warning me about liking statuses about you. Girl, you're doing something right, okay? I'll tell you that, because who cares who I like? It's just, if that's what their focus is and you're talking to the voters, I think you've got a shot. Look,
well, you better watch out, Mark, because you'll be one of those Democratic dirty dozen that just got
a baker's dozen, Mark. They wouldn't mind adding you to the list.
Be clear, you have never seen a credentials committee hearing until they try to throw me off. You hear me? They're going to put that on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. They don't want that kind of smoke. But But in
Well,
all
the cute
seriousness,
girl comes in and tries to like play her hand at poker, and everyone's like, like she doesn't even know what she's doing. Like it's not
she'll know.
like don't
She'll
even
know.
worry about her. And then she wins the hand. I think it's that kind of thing. I think
Right.
people see green and they see a young woman and they're like, like we don't even need to worry about her. It's not no big thing. But they don't know, that's our friendly Trojan horse to come in here and win in November. So we're getting ready. We're really hyped up and ready to go. So yeah, we're coming in strong.
And I see that you have quite a few of the former Democratic candidates that ran in
My
the
boy
9th
Gary
district.
Crum.
Have not, Gary is a good friend of the programs. So is actually almost all of the candidates. Dave is a good friend of the program. Philip is a good friend of the program. They've all. I didn't see Philip yet. Have you had a conversation with Philip? And where does that stand?
Yeah, we've had some really good conversations together. He talked to me a lot about his incredible campaign manager, Lloyd Walsh, who was a super volunteer that got brought into the campaign and just executed an insanely incredible ground game in District 12. And so, Phil didn't need to tell me twice. So we brought Lloyd on, and he's a part of our team now. So we're really excited to have an incredible member from Phil's team that's a part of the campaign, an official endorsement from Dave, an official endorsement from Gary. So, this is about building a coalition. This is about really trying to pull together Baltimore's left so that when we get this win in November, we also have built up the relationships that we need to be able to win the progressive policies that we need to thrive and not just survive in Baltimore City. So a lot of the work that we're doing as a campaign is also about showing people how to organize, bringing in seasoned organizers already to help sort of pass that knowledge along to new folks that want to be getting involved into politics, getting involved into policy. And so that we're building a ship that's meant to carry a lot of people, a lot of different progressive movements. So we're really excited to have so much support from former candidates. We even have candidates from 2016 who are the anti-incumbent candidates back in that race in the general election, also helping out on the campaign. So we're really reaching out, building these relationships, because that's what I think we need to do. Not just to win in November, but if we're going to push for what people deserve, we're going to need more than, one council person sitting in City Hall. We need the ability to organize and mobilize people to really stand up for what they deserve and what they need, and we got to know how to fight for it.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I like to hear. Now, I do want to say we are going to start, and I'm glad somebody reminded me on the chat that it was always been my obligation and my desire to start this when we started last week. I'm going to blame it on Mark because he didn't remind me, but I haven't told him, so I can't even really blame him. But every week we are going to promote 2 African-American owned, truly Black owned companies on our show. And we want the listeners and the viewers to consider using their services, because that's what we need to really recycle and rebuild our community. And I'm listening to Franca talk about that, and about organizing communities and what the bigger goal is. And that brought that to mind. And then somebody just sent it to me. This week, we didn't really get any. We want to hear from you. We can come up with 1 million of them, but we want to be able to hear from you. So don't go on the chat feed. Tell us who you think are tremendous African-American owned businesses that we can promote on our show. Each week we will promote 2. This week, since we are just giving you that information, we're going to be self-serving, and we're going to do our own 2. So Ivan Bates and Bates and Garcia Law Firm. If you need any legal services, trust and believe you will not go wrong with Bates and Garcia Law Firm. Right off the break. They are my attorneys. They are Mark's attorneys. And anybody who I've ever sent to them have never had any problem with Tony Garcia or Ivan Bates at the helm. They got other attorneys who are tremendous as well. I don't know their names off the top, but the 2 principals are Tony Garcia, Ivan Bates. Go to batesgarcia.com to be able to get them. Call them anytime, or hit up Ivan when he's on the show, or anytime. You can hit him up with his cell, even if you can't go to the office. The second one, of course, is I'm always going to promote DMV Daily Media. We have a new website, DMVDaily.media. For those who don't know, during the primary, we did a lot of the campaign commercials for the mayoral candidates, city council president candidates, a lot of the council candidates, including, in full disclosure, Robert Stokes. We did. He hired us to do the media buy. We didn't create that commercial you saw that is on television. I wouldn't even take credit for that commercial. I'm just saying. But we did place the media on the media stations. And that's what we do. We do it for the Register of Wills for Baltimore City, a lot of nonprofits, including Out for Justice and others. So go to dmvdaily.media if you want your radio, television, digital media ads created, or you need to get your commercials on radio or on television with a good rate. Trust and believe. You can think that you know what you're doing if you want to. They will rob you blind at, I don't care what it is, Jay-Z, BAL, ABC, Radio 1, love you, Larry, but y'all will rob them blind if you see them coming and they don't know what they're doing. So definitely you want to, if it's not us, you better go to somebody. I'm telling you right now.
That knows what they're doing. You're absolutely right.
Right. So getting back into it. Franca, I want to see you play the guitar. I saw you playing this guitar on Facebook. And I want to, you from Peru, I know you know how to get down with the guitar. Where's the guitar at? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, so I was at an accident for the post office yesterday, so my guitar's in my car right now. So you're just seeing the cavaquinho from Brazil and a ukulele. I got that ukulele for $5 at a garage sale. But it sounds beautiful, so best $5 I ever spent. But my guitar is in my car right now because I was out protesting with the post office workers yesterday for an action. As we know, the post office was really waiting for this $25 million, bill to come through to really, just to plug up some really serious holes in the ship because they are being seriously depleted of their ability to do their job. So we played a version of Mr. Postman that a little interpretation. But yeah, I'm a musician, so my whole life, I've always, since I started working when I was 14, I've always felt like I needed to have 3 jobs. So that's just always been my reality. I've always, as the kids say, doing too much. And so I teach during the day. I organize after school with students until around 5 o'clock. Then I organize with grown-ups till around 8. And then my next 2 gigs pop on, which is I'm a folkloric dancer. So I dance traditional music, not just from Peru, but I also felt that when I came to Baltimore, I was really embraced by the Mexican community here. And so I also dance traditional Mexican music. And I play folkloric music from around Latin America and also the Middle East. So we have band members from Mexico, Guatemala, Bolivia, Peru, and also Iran. So we sing songs in Spanish and Farsi and Arabic, and we're even working on some Sephardic Jewish music in Hebrew. So that's my nighttime job that I don't like to tell my students about.
Well, that is a boring life, Franca. I don't know how you I don't know how you find the time to do anything. I got to tell you, I'm really excited to have a teacher running. Especially with the new energy from BTU. It really warms my heart to see a teacher get out there. And shout out to City College. I went to City for about 6 months in my freshman year. True story.
They kicked you out, didn't they?
No, I left because 2 things. Number 1, I didn't like Latin. And number 2, the damn school was too far from the bus stop. I'm not walking all that damn way every day. I'm sorry.
You want to walk up the hill?
Oh, I can't do it. No. I made it till December, January, and then I said, I'm going back to Pikesville. But so I want to thank you for the energy that you brought. And I've got to tell you, as someone that's been working in progressive politics in Baltimore for a long time, this was a tough primary season. You know what I mean? The really true progressives that ran in council districts, by and large, didn't win. You know what I mean? I think mostly because, and I want to ask you how this is going to impact your race. I think COVID froze the race in ways that hurt the progressive insurgent candidates. and help the kind of establishment. Because, like, you couldn't really get out and you couldn't really talk to people in the same way. And so I look at a candidate like Joseph Kane, you know what I mean, who would have been an amazing council person. And I think had a chance, at least initially, but when COVID came in and that door, because his strength was never going to be money, his strength was the doors. And so when you took the doors out of his arsenal, I think the district reverted back to, voting for who you know. And Odette's been around, she doesn't live in the district. She's been around for long enough that people kind of Mary Pat, and so so I'm really excited that in the general election, folks that are really progressive are going to have the opportunity to participate in a focused way in this election, other than voting against Trump, which we all will do. Your candidacy, I think, offers a really exciting opportunity. And so I say to all those folks, to my friends, to my progressives, even progressive office holders, I'd love to see Senator Mary Washington. I would love to see, progressive insurgent candidates recognize that it can't be all about the D next to your name. I mean, I don't know how, out of party loyalty, we have to stick with the Democrat when he ran for the Central Committee, was elected to the Central Committee, and then got kicked off because he didn't show up enough. So he can't even show up to the meetings, but I, as a result of my party registration and the office that I hold, have to be loyal to him. You can go to hell with that. So I just really want to say, on a personal note, Frank, I really am excited. I know the people that are around you, Owen and Andy. Andy is irky beyond belief, but I love Andy. And Owen, I call Dr. McDreamy because he's so handsome. There's all folks around you that are good folks, and so I'm really excited, and I thank you, quite frankly, for putting yourself out there in this way. I mean, we all know it's a long shot. Nobody's thinking that this is, at least today, a neck and neck race, but it can turn into a neck and neck race with enough positivity and energy. And so I said all that to get around to my question, which is, how are you going to combat COVID? You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to? I know there's non-traditional ways of reaching folks, but in the 12th, there's a whole lot of old folks that the real only way to reach them is to go and talk to them. And so I'm wondering how you and your campaign are planning to kind of, without giving out any secrets, to navigate the choppy waters of actually talking to folks.
You got it. So I think really we are really successfully playing off of COVID. I think for the primary candidates, it's nothing that no one could have ever seen coming in a million years. And you kept thinking, oh my, at some point this is going to end and it's going to be normal again. And we can resume campaigning like normal human beings, right? That has never been our reality. We came into this knowing like, we're going to have to make this work and COVID's going to be lasting for the next 3 years. Who knows, right? So we knew that this campaign was going to have to function in this way. We had no expectations that we were going to get to knock on doors in a traditional way. So from the moment we hit the ground running, right, we started with essentially a parade around District 12 with a car caravan and bikes and a float with live music, going around the whole district. And since that event, every week we are in our battleground precincts doing live music performances, bringing people out. And we're letting people know that we're coming. We're letting them know through our voter outreach methods. We're doing lit drops and flyering and saying, hey, we're going to be here. This is your chance to talk to the candidate. So we've been getting a lot of positive energy from those concerts. And I'll see folks that, came to one of the district concerts and now they've come to almost all of them, right? We're really picking up people and picking up a following, and they see a little bit about what our ethic is, right? Which is that we feel like we have to offer something. It can't just be about these promises of like what's going to happen if I get elected. It has to be like, what are you willing to put in the game right now? And I think as someone who is an artist, I've seen that we've been shut out of getting to have just basic joy. We're stuck in our houses. We're stuck being on social media all the time, which I'll get to how that actually also benefits us in another way. But we thought it was really important to bring some joy into the neighborhood, and it's left a really huge impression in the places that we've been coming through. So you can check it out every week. This Sunday, we're going to be over in Greenmount West. We're going to be over in the Oliver neighborhood on the 12th. Every weekend, we are coming through and going through these communities. So we're not knocking on doors. We want to keep our volunteers safe. We want to keep residents safe, but we do have these socially distanced events. We're doing lit drops. We're doing phone calls. And what this campaign is really sort of throwing open is the ability of texting. And if you followed the progressive races in New York City, a lot of them really got a ton of their voter IDs and their support through texts, because you're actually able to share articles, which we've been, fortunate enough to get covered by The Sun, covered by Maryland Matters, covered by The Brew, Real News. And so we're able to send links. We'll probably send a link from the show tonight to share with people, to show like what our work is really about. And we've even used our text to try to further the stuff that's on our platform that are things that I've been fighting for already for a long time. So we're in this battle with Comcast. We have a hearing coming up tomorrow night. You guys should check it out at 5 p.m. So it'll be on Charm TV, where we'll be putting Comcast feet to the fire after they have not been asked to sit for a hearing for 4 years since signing that contract, that agreement that they signed in 2016, the franchise agreement. But our push from our students and our teachers and our advocates, we got this hearing. And so we were texting people about it, getting people to sign our student petition around the demands that students are making to make sure this company is doing its fair share to connect our kids and families. So I think what's amazing about being able to communicate in this way is that, we couldn't do the traditional thing. We had to really open up to what else was possible. And through that, we've been able to show people what we're really about, which is that we're not here to waste time. We're not here to play around. We're here to get stuff done. And so I feel really, really motivated by how our team's been able to meet the crisis. And finally, we're really, owning the airwaves on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, getting a ton of good following there. And so we know that a lot of people are spending a disproportionate amount of time on social media right now, because that is the nature of this pandemic. And so that gives us a ton of exposure to folks. So I feel that we've set up a solid ground game social media strategy to really be able to knock out these IDs so that we can get that win in November. So yeah, we're in it to win it.
So
It's amazing.
You said a lot, and I got a lot written down. But I want to say, you're in Baltimore. You talked about doing music in Baltimore and dance. Baltimore is the home of club music, so I want to see a dance routine by the general election from club music as the background music. And we will see
Only if you guys choreograph it and do it in sync together.
I'm sure
I want you guys doing some old school SpongeBob stuff.
Matter of fact, you know what we need to do? We need to do a live, like we did the last election, Mark, where we do a live.
Yeah.
We're going to do one over at Terra Cafe before the election to push people out to the polls. And you are going to play the guitar and dance as our entertainment portion of that live stream program.
Wouldn't be my first time playing at Terrence's place. I love playing at Terra Cafe, so I'm happy to do it.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm going to set that up before October, right after the October 13th is I think the voter registration deadline. But I want to point to this, and I would be remiss if I didn't. First of all, thank you for pushing back against Comcast. People don't realize, this franchise agreement didn't just start in 2016. They did this 10 years prior to that, and they did that. And I linked on, because at that time, it was city council president was my person, Sheila Dixon. Everybody knows my love for my godmother, Sheila Dixon, and she was city council president, about to be mayor, and they did it then. And I think that is bad business for anybody to get into a 10-year agreement with somebody like that and to cut out Verizon and the files. I would have Verizon files right now if it wasn't for these fools. The best in that anyway. But here's my pushback on that. From a big business standpoint, Why, as much as I think that Comcast should provide free internet to everybody in the city, especially those during this time and era with children, why would a business that you wouldn't ask any other business, well, you might ask them, but you damn sure ain't going to get it, them to provide such a service that will come out of their overall capital, regardless of a franchise agreement that, be quite frank, they've already entered into it. So they don't really have to do anything, to be quite honest, unless people at City Hall force their hand. Would you force their hand, and would you organize other members of the council to force their hand in that agreement?
So I want to start with acknowledging what are the exact demands that students and advocates have been making of Comcast. So number one is something that I think we can all agree on, that they got to increase these speeds. They have speeds that were perhaps sufficient before COVID, when everyone was communicating like this, right? In Zoom calls and conference calls. And so maybe it was enough then when people were streaming videos and that's what they needed the internet for. That's not the reality anymore. And what we know is that despite how much they say how proud they are of themselves and pat themselves on the back because of this Internet Essential program, which is for our low-income families, I know as an educator that when we've gotten our kids hooked up on Internet Essentials, if they try to be on the same time as their brother or sister, they can't be on. And I have students that every morning they have to have a conversation with their family, rationing out who's going to be online when. Is it going to be parents who need to, work their job and pay the bills? Or is it going to be students that need to be getting their education, right? And so that is number one. And it would cost them nothing in terms of infrastructure to increase those speeds. It just means that they lose one of those extra steps that get us to pay more money. The second piece has to do with making sure that our students and educators can be online. We need to make sure that during this pandemic, when folks have to use the internet to survive, that they have it, right? So this isn't about Comcast like giving us free internet forever. It's about saying that if we don't get our kids online, they don't get their education that they have a right to have, right? So, and what they've demanded is that once schools are restored, to give a 60-day grace period before starting to charge again. And that's for Internet Essentials. That's also not for everyone. It's for folks that are identified as low income, whether it's through, receiving free and reduced lunch, which, by the way, is really complicated in Baltimore because they've kind of changed a lot of those programs and how you can report them. So it's actually really hard for families to prove that they need it, especially our undocumented families. But that's number two. And number three is about open up hotspots. They have hotspots open that are public hotspots, which looks like a kid having to pull up into a McDonald's parking lot to do their homework. What we're saying is open all the Xfinity hotspots. I'm in an apartment building. There's an Xfinity connection right now, but if I were a student, I can't connect to it because you have to be like a certain level of Xfinity customer to be able to access all of the Xfinity hotspots. So we're saying, listen, like this is an emergency, open up all your hotspots. It will really help our kids, especially those living in dense areas of the city. So those are the three that I'm really pushing for. And frankly, I think it is Comcast's responsibility to do their fair share when they're making record profits in our city because they have complete access to clients. They had their best second quarter in 13 years of new paying customers. That's paying customers. That doesn't even include, so that was, I think, like 323,000 new customers due to COVID because people needed to get online. That doesn't even include the 600,000 people that signed up for Internet Essentials, which after 2 months also become paying customers. So they're about to triple the number that got them like the best second quarter they had in 13 years. So, when this company and their internet infrastructure of this company is profiting so much out of this crisis, and our citizens in our city have no control over where they can turn the internet, I think they do have a moral responsibility to make sure that our kids can get online. And it shouldn't be about them putting a $650,000 invoice, which to me, is just like shaking down a broke school district that's underfunded to the tune of like $342 million every year. And that's the state's number, so that's conservative. How are you gonna be asking a school district to put down $650K? It doesn't make any sense, especially when they're getting to exploit so much wealth and extract so much wealth from our city. It's not right. So that's why I think they have a moral responsibility.
And this is where I think the scales are unbalanced, because if we can ask, and I think it's the right thing to do, if we can ask a small business owner that rents out 3 or 4 apartments to go without rent completely for 5, 6, 7 months, you have to let people live, and they should. I'm not arguing with it, but you have to let people stay in your home. There's nothing you can do to get them out, and they don't have to give you a nickel. For now, it's been 6 months. If we are willing to do that, and we should be, then I think that Comcast, we ought to be willing to say to Comcast, who, after all, has enjoyed, as you even said, Hassan, a sweetheart deal with the city for the last 10 years, to ask them to step up and become corporate citizens. I can't believe that we do not have the wherewithal within this Baltimore City Council and within this mayor to say, you know what, Comcast, screw your $650,000. Make sure these damn kids can do their homework. That's the least. What's Comcast going to do? Leave the city? Absolutely not. That's why I say that's the difference, I think, between a candidate like Franca and a candidate like Stokes. It would never occur to him, even though he probably interacts more with folks. Well, no, you're a teacher, but in many respects, he knows those folks that need access to have their kids online. So for him to not be at the forefront of pressing this matter just shows that he's, a lot of these folks are unfortunately bought and paid for.
Richard Deshae Elliott, you've been sitting there like a fly on the wall. You're not going to interact, or you're just going to watch the show?
No, he's on with
I
Francho.
can't hear Mark, and I can't hear Franca, so I'm watching the live stream that's like maybe 15 seconds behind on my computer, reading the captions. So I hear what I'm reading what Franca and Mark is saying. To offer my input on the Comcast bit, I don't like. I'm very strongly with Franca and the BTU and others to demand the free internet from Comcast. And I think that if Comcast is not going to do it, or even if they do, I support Maryland basically doing eminent domain of the internet infrastructure over our state so that we can have publicly owned internet that can be low cost and publicly owned, like already exists in Easton, like already exists in Knoxville. But in the interim, Comcast certainly has a responsibility and an ability to provide internet to people who, if they don't get it, are going to lose a year of education, won't be able to get a job. So it's definitely a fight worth having right now. And I stand with Franca and the BTU in favor of expanded internet within Baltimore City.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, like, there are cables. The infrastructure that they use to run their company so that they can, do their Comcast business, there are cables. It's the cable that allows our TVs, right, to get connected
Mark,
to.
I can't hear you on this, but I can hear you through the computer. I don't know what's going on.
That's your bootleg and your connection. You and Mark with these Boost Mobile connections. I don't know what's going on, man. I hear all of y'all fine.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have Metro PCS anymore.
That's what I'm talking about.
You are a woman of the people, Metro PCS.
Yeah, it had really good deals to call international. You could do international stuff too. Gotta talk to my family out in Peru.
Gotta do it. You know what, Mark? We gotta get that young lady on, the president of BTU. Was it Diamante?
Diamante. Yes.
Yeah. We haven't had that sister on yet. We got to get her.
All you had to do was tell me. I'll call Corey. She'll come on anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Try to get her on for next week. We need to talk about this issue and so much more that they're fighting and dealing with right now. with schools about to return. Speaking of schools about to return, I know, Frank, we were talking right before the show. You said you went to your first, what was it? Today was the first
Day for teachers, so our professional development day.
So schools are starting after Labor Day. Thank God we went back to that for the moment. Um, what do we look like from a teacher's perspective? How do we look in coming into at least this first quarter? We know it's online learning. There won't be any in-person learning, at least for now. Are you comfortable and are teachers comfortable with North Avenue and what they have in place for our children moving forward?
So I do want to take a moment to just thank the hard work of the BTU parent organizations. Also, congratulations to Joe Kane, who is now president of PCAB, so the parent organization of BCPSS. Because teachers, parents, and students really rallied and told the district, we're not ready to go back. You're not ready for us to come back. It's not safe. So the district really wanted to have a hybrid reopening, which for a school system that struggles to have live lessons and struggle to have online lessons, I don't know in what world we thought we were going to be able to execute both of those at the same time. But so we're really, really excited and proud of the win that we had, which is that we were going to have a digital start. And I will say that the school district has been really appreciative of our advocacy work around digital access and around our fight with Comcast to be able to push back and get the internet that we need. The school district understands that if we can't get kids online, this digital reopening, it's not happening. And that's part of the reason, if you notice this summer, they were giving out hotspots. They weren't Comcast, purchases. It was T-Mobile hotspots because we were, trying to say, like, we got to look at other options. Comcast isn't doing what we need. And so we were able to, to really create the environment in which the school district was able to experiment and trying to do with that. Unfortunately, it was just too expensive. As far as the digital reopening, there has been a lot of ways where, often as a BTU member, and I'm a BTU rep, right? I fight for my teachers at North Avenue. And so we often don't see eye to eye. But when it came to, we need to get our kids connected, we've really been able to be partners in that. But now it's about just making sure that the way that we handle digital reopening acknowledges that these are human beings. So we can't, there were some schedules flying around about having preschoolers on Zoom calls for like over 4.5 hours. So for those of you, first graders. So for those of you who have young kids and you're trying to think about how you're going to get a 6 or 7-year-old to like sit in front of a Zoom meeting for that long, they have to be flexible. So we as the teachers union, along with organizations of parents and students, are continuing to push to make sure you gotta talk to us because we know how this stuff is going to look like on the ground. Like that chart might look beautiful and that schedule might look really nice on the PowerPoint, but when it comes to executing that with real human beings, it's not going to work. So we're continuing to fight to make sure that parents, kids, and teachers and educators in general are getting what they deserve and the respect that we need to be able to have a successful fall.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really worried because my son goes to city schools, and during the last quarter of the year, which we saw to this digital learning, they were very, very much so all over the place. I mean, there was no learning whatsoever. He had a computer. They still gave him a laptop, which is fine. We have internet, and he still, there was no real clear direction on where you need to go to learn. Like it took a week and a half for me to talk to any administrator from the school. And I couldn't talk to a teacher. I never talked to a principal. I talked to a guidance counselor who had to eventually kind of tell me how to get in touch with somebody. And it took them 2 days to get back with me. And then it was a lot of different online, I can't even remember the platform names. There was so many different ones that even with the kids, when you had the group learning, you had so many kids, talking back and forth and all, like they had no control over the kids, as they really don't do in classrooms, to be quite honest. and most of them. And, it was just really a distraction to a point. He ended up doing all his stuff independent of the group and just doing all the work that they had assigned one by one and just submitting it that way. Or otherwise, he'd have never got anything done. And I think a lot of parents are going to be worried about that. Is there a mechanism in place that your children will learn and will be able to submit their information or learning? Because I mean, quite honest, he never got graded on any of that stuff. I don't even knew what his grades were for the last quarter until the report card came in. And I'm still not satisfied that they really graded the work that he put in for the last quarter. So I don't know. I look, more power to you. All my love and support with the teachers, because you guys have a very tough task ahead of you over these next few months and probably over the next year, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Now, I totally agree with you, Hassan. This is going to be a huge struggle for families, for students, for teachers. I do think that having had these 2 months to prepare, and we had meetings going on throughout the entire summer around trying to plan for every detail of schooling, right? The schoolwork, what happens if a kid needs to transfer, like every minutia detail that needed to go in, we were trying to prepare for this moment that is coming up on September 8th. So I think it's not going to, we're not getting caught off on guard this time. So I do hope that schools feel like they have more of a handle the situation of how they're going to be able to communicate with parents. Some schools did an amazing job. Other schools really struggled. So I hope that it's a little bit more uniform this time around. But I will say that it's really important for parents like yourself to be advocates and be letting us know. Every single school also has a building representative for the teachers union. And we have been, huge go-betweens to make sure that we know what our teachers are saying, that we're reaching out to what students are saying, and relaying that to the union so that the union can push back. Because sometimes, like I said, things can look really nice in a PDF, and things look like, oh yeah, no problem, we're going to execute this. But when you show it to the parents, the students, and the teachers, will tell you what's going to work and what's not. And so it's really important for there to be really clear communication between what's happening with teachers and what's happening with the parents and students, so that we can be advocating together to get what we need out of the digital classroom. Because I think you're totally right. It was a very, very hard time during this spring, and I really am hoping that we have a stronger organization, system in place from school to school to make this work, because we can't have our kids losing their education. We know a lot of students in Baltimore, there are ways in which there are already big gaps in between, their ability to be successful on certain metrics within the school system. So we want to make sure they're getting prepared. We want to make sure that they're not falling behind. So we need to do everything in our power, including really listening to our parents about what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I know we're pushing that 7 o'clock hour. I know you had another meeting that you had to push back. So we want to give you an opportunity for those who are watching, who are impressed by you as I was, and I'm sure everybody watching. How can they get in touch with you, learn more about you, and find out about you so they can donate, get involved, or know how to vote for you come November 3rd?
Absolutely. So please check out francaforthepeople.com. I see folks have been posting into the chat, so thanks for that. You can check out that link to find out how to donate, how to volunteer. Soon we'll have so that you can pick up your yard sign if you're in District 12. And if you want a yard sign, check out any of our social media. So Franca Mueller Paz on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you'll be able to see how to get a yard sign if you actually live in District 12. So, we need every single person who's feeling excited about this campaign, who feels like this win matters to them. And I just want to say, obviously, it's not just about if you live in District 12, right? These decisions get made at a citywide level, have citywide implications, and we need more progressive votes in that council. The second piece is that when Baltimore City wins, Maryland wins, because we set precedents for progressive policies being passed that then make it easier for our brothers and sisters in other districts to be able to get that work done too. And even if you're not in Maryland, when we are able to get these wins in Baltimore City, it's evidence that folks in other cities can throw down as well to say, look, Baltimore is doing this. Like, we need to get on top of it. That's how we were able to pull in city council people from Philadelphia, city council people from Detroit in our fight around Comcast, because we're like, look, this is what Baltimore is doing. Like, where are you guys at? We need your support. We need your help. And there's a lot of power in that. So wherever you are, you can help this campaign, and this a progressive win for us in the 12th district can really be a progressive win for all of us.
Franca, and I want to end with this admonition, and I think that you already know. I'm sure you're on top of it as a woman of color, and But I want to say that sometimes to certain folks that aren't as plugged in, progressive sounds like it's white folks. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest about that. So I mean, I know you're smarter than to have like the patchouli and Birkenstock crowd knocking through. You know what I mean? Like, I know that you know all that, but my suggestion is to really reach out to, and I'm sure you are already, and God love Owen and Andy and all the rest of them. We need all of them, but to the extent that you have young, especially African American and of color teachers, also what I call the land of progressive misfit toys from around the city, from the primary, like Logan Endow and Gary Crum and Joe Kane, have those folks, because they've kind of fought this war as folks of color. And I know Andy doesn't want to hear it. I love you, Andy. But, it's really important that your movement be forward facing of folks of color, of Black and brown folks, so that it doesn't, because, as you know, in 12 especially, there is some conflict between white folks in 12 and Black folks in 12. And so I want to make sure that you are smartly utilizing your volunteers so that you are clear that you are running to represent both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why
That's all I got.
Our campaign. Yeah, no, thank you. And that's why our campaign is led by young people of color. Some of them are even former students of mine. We even got a poly student in there. So, things are really heating up when you're bringing them together. So we are really fighting a coalition that is trying to unify the kind of policies that we need, not just in the Black community, but in the Latinx community, in the working class community, because ultimately so many people and all kinds of propaganda have been trying to split us up. And the only people that win when that happens are, it's these developers, it's these corporations, and it's this institutionalized power. And it keeps us from actually being able to win the things that allow us to, be thriving here in Baltimore, and not just what a lot of us have to do, which is survive and make it just from day to day. And so I'll close with saying that, when I was growing up, I lived in Paterson, New Jersey, and it's very similar to Baltimore. It's like a tiny Baltimore. It's a factory town that lost all of its factories. And when we were living there, my dad was super concerned, and he was really worried about me going to the schools there. He was worried about drug-related violence when we were living. And he had to, break out everything and sacrifice everything for us to move just a couple miles away so that I could go to another school system. And so I could walk home and feel safe when I did that. But that had a huge cost. He had to work day shifts, night shifts, in construction, which can be really dangerous. He actually almost even lost an eye one time in a welding accident when we had no health insurance. So that set us back a couple months of rent. We were always struggling to make sure that we could keep our lights on, to make sure that we weren't going to get evicted. And it meant that I almost never got to see my father growing up, because we were doing everything to get the stuff that, people deserve. That these are things that are about living a decent and dignified life. And by continuing to separate the Black struggle, the Latinx struggle, the working class struggle, all we do is have to take more and more years of enduring these policies that are crushing us and exploiting us. And what we need to see is that we really need to be coming together and building this coalition. And that's what we're fighting to do within this campaign. And what I believe we're really succeeding in is to show that we all need the same things as working people and working people of color. So now it's time for us to really fight for this win together.
Absolutely. All right. Well, y'all heard it straight from her mouth. Franca Mueller. Pause. I kept saying Mueller. I caught that while you were talking. So I'm glad to be corrected by somebody other than Mark. But thank you so much. We wish you all the best on your campaign over the next few weeks. And we're going to hold you to coming to that show live down there at Terra Cafe.
I'm ready. Tell me the date, the time. I'm there. I'll bring other musicians too. We'll have a real party.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, we wish you all the best. And anytime you want to come on the show, make sure you try. Believe, ask Gary. He always comes on.
Yeah.
Even when he just drops fast. So we'll always welcome you to come on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time, Franca.
Bye.
Now, Richard is here, but I can't see him. And
I can't either.
Look, it's just blank.
Now, yes. Okay. I put it on my computer. It's way better on computer.
Yeah, but we can't see you, though. That's the problem. We can hear you. We just can't see you. So you're just going to have to roll with the we can hear you type of thing for right now.
You'll be the voice. You'll be the voice in the wilderness.
So
I'll try and fix it.
Very impressive young lady, I must say.
I gotta tell you, I was very impressed with her. You know, I mean, I love the Green Party, but sometimes they come up with these patchouli and Birkenstock candidates with the nose rings and the purple hair that I'm like, child, it don't matter what she say, they ain't getting elected. You know, no offense. Like the guy that
and then Andy gonna bank you when they see it.
That's all right. They know I love him, but you know, the weird guy that had walked around with the seeds and stuff. I mean, it's a good idea, but you know, nobody's voting for you with seed. You know, but Franca, that is a candidate that can absolutely win. She reminds me of an actually progressive Odette. You know what I mean? I think she could actually. And you know what? This is the iron test, and this is why I don't have any respect for Odette. Because Odette should be helping that girl. Just as, and I'm going to put the same thing to Mary Washington. Like, at a certain point, if you're a progressive, you've got to be a progressive beyond your party. And none of them have anything that they owe to Robert Stokes. Robert Stokes ain't done nothing for them. This is the opportunity to elect someone that will shake up City Hall. And you can't keep saying you want to shake up City Hall, but keep sticking with these, you know, old, worn-out incumbents. I mean, Robert doesn't even show up to committee hearings, and all you have to do is get on Zoom. You know, I mean, just the idea. I am really hoping, that's going to be my little project. I'm really hoping that a couple of the progressive candidates, nominees, I mean, look, you know, I know we're not on talking terms, but Felicia Porter, folks like, you know, if you are a young progressive, don't you want Franca to join you instead of Robert Stokes? And if you don't, then don't call yourself a progressive. Just call yourself.
Well, think about it, though. I think a lot of them feel like she'll outshine them, right? So Odette won't be the only Latino on the city council. Won't be the first. She has to share that limelight now with, you know what I mean?
Plus, it might call attention to the fact that she lives in her district. But yeah, I hear you.
Right. Hey, don't you live right down the street from me? Okay. You know. No, I live in the 14th. Sure you do. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting to see. Look, I have never seen a Green Party candidate raise money the way she has.
Never.
And really be active in that community. Like, if anybody can pick up a good chunk of Democratic voters that's a Green Party candidate, this young lady can. Especially
and she's got the money, and she's running against a particularly dead-in-the-water incumbent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what
he won, though. You say that, but he still won the primary.
I know, but that's because he keeps running against 10 people. You know, I mean, I don't know what an energized Robert Stokes campaign looks like. I'm interested to see. Like, in my opinion, she served notice. I got $50,000, motherfucker. What you want to do? Now, I want to see what Robert says back.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's interesting. And I told Robert this. Look, look, I'm not going to make any wrongs about it. Robert, I've known Robert way before he was elected to office. The years he was with EDO, and they kept looking him over and over. He was over there working at the NBA, and he kept running, and they kept bypassing him. And I felt bad because I'm like, I know he's a good guy, and y'all keep overlooking him. He's putting in work for EDO year after year, support McFadden and all their candidates, and they would never. So I thought that when he finally got into office, you wouldn't be able to shut him up. You know what I mean? Like just be bang, 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 bang. Now he tells me he's done more than I've seen, and I'm not doubting that. And look, I like Robert personally as a person.
I do
love
too.
Robert.
Actually, as personally,
I looking at the future of this city, I think this young lady will be great for the future of this city on the council at some level, or on the state delegate, on the state level, whatever it is. I think she would make a great representation, representative for that. I don't think though it's going to be. I'm telling you, if she was an independent, I said, and on the ballot, I mean, you had the signatures, not just write-in. I think she could possibly pull it off. But I'm telling you, a lot of black people have this number about the Green Party because they've never educated themselves.
I know.
Well, Hassan, and to give the race a little bit more of a look, in 2016, Stokesy again, he barely won the Democratic primary, but then in the general, he got 70% against 3 opponents. So you take a race now where there'll be a Republican, probably gets about 15% of the vote, maybe 10%. And then between Robert and Franca, I think that Franca, if I were to give an estimate, is already probably somewhere around 35% of the vote in that race, somewhere in that region. And I think that with a field campaign, sorry, Michael Moore's attacks on Mark. With the whole field campaign, with having Logan and Joe and Dave and Gary and basically all the insurgents across the city behind her, I think that, and this is the only race, not just in Baltimore, but the only race in the region. And our good friends at Progressive Maryland are also about to hop on board. So I think that Franca's race, I'd say right now, I'd give it a toss-up, being honest. I think that Franca has the ability to flip it in her direction. It just comes down to how many doors they can knock. And Robert's money does not help his situation at all. I have more money right now than Robert.
No, I love you, Sabrino, but this is not a toss-up. Okay, I have to tell you, she is a
hard
distinct.
To educate the 60 and over crowd who always voted Democrat. I don't care who comes to their door. Jesus Christ can come to their door. When you're going to a poll and all you hear is Trump, 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 you're voting for the Democratic ticket, and that ticket, it has Robert Stokes on it.
Yeah. Here's my question: is there a Republican candidate in 12?
Yeah. From what I saw, yeah, and they I don't believe they filed their campaign finance report, or they filed and they have like $100.
Because I'll tell you, I think that she, as much as she's to the left of Stokes, I think that one smart thing to do would be, even if it's between 5 and 10% that the Republican gets, she ought to target Republicans too, and because they've got to hate him more than anyone. You know what I mean? And so,
I got to give a response to Larry, because Larry put question marks. I did not say that Progressive Maryland is coming out yet. I think that they're doing an interview in coming days for her. So Larry,
Larry's watching too. Hey, Stafford.
And Larry put a whole bunch of question marks because I think he took something I said differently.
Well, you did say that. You said they're coming out behind her in the next week.
He said, I think they are going to, not that they are.
Yeah, they're doing an interview, I think today, and they're doing an interview. They were supposed to do an interview on Tuesday.
Okay.
So that is not they are supporting her, but they at least have had the interest to reach out. So I'm sorry for bad words, Larry.
Larry, don't you bully my nephew now. He was just giving intelligence.
I'm gonna tell you something though. If I was her, I would do like they did up in Prince George's. Look, I don't care what nobody can say. I'm about winning elections. That's what I do. I will put out every literature I have,
baby,
everything. Democratic candidate,
baby, baby. Listen.
I'm telling you, and they're gonna go and they're gonna look at it like, oh, she's a Democratic ticket. I would have Biden and them right at the top.
Yes.
I would have Ume. I would have Brandon Scott, and I would have me in the council.
Yes.
Democratic.
Yes.
Hey,
It works in Prince George's for a reason. I'll say that. It works
Well,
in Prince George's for a reason.
it could work in Baltimore too. I know Owen and Andy are like, but what about building the Green Party? There's nothing that's going to build the Green Party more than actually electing a Green Party member. Get some fucking 20 different ballots. The old school Democratic Club, the new school Democratic Club, the North Avenue Democratic Club, the Calvin Street Democrat. I would have 50 Democratic Club ballots out in the street, all of which had Democrats
Mhm.
all the way down until you get to Franca. And I hate to say that because it's cynical and it's something we fight against in Prince George's County, but I'm with Hassan. I'm too fucking old. I want to win. Okay? I'm tired of these principles. I want to win. And that would be, again,
that would be the only way she has a chance. There's nobody 55 and over that hasn't seen this show who don't really know. You may have knocked on their door once or twice, but they're not paying attention to you.
No.
Their kids got to go back to school. They're in COVID. They ain't really paying attention. But they get that literature in the mail over and over, that mailer, and they get this Democratic ballot, and they see your name on it. They're going to go right in there. They're going to use that, and they're going to vote for her. Or they're going to do it.
There she goes. Right. If you would just look at the number, people don't, and this is what people don't always understand, especially us progressives, is that you knock doors, but you don't hang out at them polling places. Go to them polling places and see how many of those, 80 and over clubs have a ballot in their hand walking in there. Like, do not discount how important that is. I know it's old school and all the rest of that, but that's how you win. Your name has got to be on as many god daggone pieces of paper as you can.
Mm-hmm. I know I would. I don't care what they say, misleading, whatever. All right. You can say all that when I'm in office.
That's exactly right. But I'm honestly hoping that folks, I know it's couldn't get probably AOC, but like someone like a Cori Bush, from St. Louis, like have those folks come in town and do an event with her. It'll generate earned media. There'll be buzz and hopefully raise some money. I mean, I really see potential in the next 2 months. Look, truth of the matter is she's a long shot, but she's much less of a long shot than the average Green. And I think her winning is in the realm of the possible. Everything would have to go right, but it's in the realm of the possible, given what a weak candidate Robert Stokes is, and what I think after interviewing her, what a strong candidate she is.
Well, for just as further background, I think the National Green Party has been tweeting at least about her, and for some people like that, I think that they've at least retweeted her fundraising calls at the very minimum, retweeting her fundraising calls, and I think that they'll be able to over the course of the race get like a Kendra Brooks, the Green Party member from the Philadelphia City Council.
Okay.
So there's definitely people that they can get in. And there's also the dynamic of there's a senator on East Side who does not give a darn about Robert Stokes and probably was dancing after he saw him get kicked off the Central Committee. So there's also the dynamic of, I don't think that said senator or his organization can help, but they definitely will not help Robert.
Yeah,
so
I think that's
further footing that Robert would have to climb if he wants to really be able to hold his ground for the future.
I'm going to tell you something, though. That's the problem with y'all Democrats, right? The Democratic Party and the establishment. I understand what they meant about you got to support Democrats and all that. But if you really want to expand the base moving forward, you're going to have to open up the possibility of supporting third-party candidates that espouse values, right? That's not to say that these are conservative, right-wing people, but people who espouse your values of the Democratic Party, like Franca and others, that may be Green Party, you're going to have to open up the tent. Because at some point, people are going to really realize your hustle and realize you ain't shit. And they're going to start walking away.
Well, if you look at a state like Vermont, where there's a Progressive Party and a Democratic Party, and they have had a synergistic effect on each other. You know what I mean? That's how it should be. Honestly, that's how it really should be. But if we're going to insist on letting Democrats occupy the lane, then we've got to also insist on better Democrats, or else what's the point of it? Like, for instance, that inbox that I got from the executive committee member, like, are you really insisting that I support Robert Stokes, who stands against everything that I support because he's a Democrat? I mean, I never understood how that makes any sense.
And Hassan, we're a good crowd to do. I think that me and Democratic Central Committee member McLaurin are two of the more inclusive coalitional
Thank
Democrats.
you.
As soon as I heard about Franca, I told her I'm endorsing you, gave social media advice, and I also happen to have her endorsement for my race.
See, well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing. You executive committee Democratic Party bully, send me one more inbox and I'm jumping off the ledge. One more inbox, damn it. And I'm with Franca. And I'm going to go down there with her every
What race
damn
are you
day.
running, Richard? What race are you
I'm running for delegate in Prince George's County. District 24.
Oh, in 2022.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were on the ballot this fall. I'm about to say, where the hell you going?
No. Hassan, I can't run for office in Baltimore City. I have not earned that privilege yet. I would not dare run there.
Okay. So you are in Prince George's County, 20. Who's the senator over there?
Joanne Claiborne Benson.
She's still in office?
Leave her alone. That's my godmother, Hassan. Don't be disrespectful.
No, I like Joanne. I mean, she's one of the good ones, right? But goddamn, somebody got to, at some point she got to.
I don't think she's gonna. She's a widow with no children. She distance her family down there. Leave her alone.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to talk smack on Senator Benson on this.
When you step away and groom young people to take you, come on, 30, 40 years, come on, man.
Hassan, I have comments on that, but I don't think that they're DMV Daily friendly. So we'll save them for a personal phone call regarding her and her promoting of young talent.
Well, I don't want to be included on that phone call if it's going to be anything against my Joanne Claiborne Benson, because I will go the hell off. You hear me? That's my girl.
So who are the delegates currently in that district?
The delegates are Eric Barron, the chair of the Prince George's County delegation in the House, Jazz Lewis, the chair of the House Democratic Caucus, and former Prince George's County Councilwoman Andrea Harrison.
And perennial drunk Andrea Harrison. Yes, her.
That means I guess that's the person you're going
for.
That's the seat you're going for then. I mean, obviously you're going to go for any of the three. You don't target any. But
this is the thing. Joanne is almost certainly not going to run again. So one of them is going to move up. So there may be an open.
Okay.
In fact, depending on circumstances, there could potentially, keyword being potentially, be 3 vacancies, because this is assumption. This is assumption. I assume that Eric Barron is going to run for Senate.
Yeah.
Right.
Andrea Harrison may run for Senate against Eric Barron. And then this is I'll call this a murmur, and I'm not going to call this a rumor. This is a murmur. I ain't heard it enough places to give it like official credibility. I have heard murmurs that Jazz Lewis is considering running for Congress in the 4th district.
Stenny's not against. Well, you think Brown?
No, in 4, not 5. Because Brown is going to run for Congress. Oh, my bad. Brown is going to run for governor.
No.
I heard that. I did hear that. I heard he was
Anthony Brown. No.
Wait, Mark, are you saying no as in improbable, or no as in he will not win and should not run?
No, I don't want him to. I don't know what he'll do, but I don't want him to. God, no.
I don't understand that. Why you give up a safe congressional seat to run for governor that you're probably going to lose any goddamn way in the primary?
For the same reason, for the same reason you chased that one girl who never gave you that butt in high school, okay? She's not even that cute anymore, but you gotta have her before you hang up your shows, okay?
I'm still chasing her.
Hassan, for what I'm happy to make this transition for 2022. My expecteds are Francho is running. That is a go. That's already happening. No. Trone and Brown are both in the highly speculative I expect camp. I do not think also Brooks or Johnny O is going to run. They don't have the money. They don't have the in-district support. They don't have the political organization.
They've been frozen by COVID too. They would
exactly.
Look, I don't think y'all reading also Brooks correctly. And I say that, look, I've known Angela since before she ran for state's attorney. And Eric Bryant brought her down to Baltimore. I met with her, and I knew right then. I told her, you'll be the first Black governor if you ever run. I mean, she's very personable. Now, I know she's got a lot of negatives that a lot of people say from Prince George's, but she's a former prosecutor, the current county exec. She has nowhere to go but, look, she's in her first term. If she waits this time and the Democrat wins, then she's got to wait another 8 years possibly to run. You got the congressman behind you in Fume because Eric Bryant is your boo, and that's the chief of staff for the congressman. So you know Kwaizi's going to
I
be
thought
behind
Jack
him.
Johnson was her boo.
I really
Eric
don't want to think about her with Eric Bryant or Jack Johnson. Jesus.
No, but I'm saying, like, I don't see her not running for governor right now.
I
don't
think
see
she
her-
will. I think she will, but I don't think she'll do it in 22.
Yeah, I expect the 2026 like unity ticket, I'll call it, of Elsa Brooks and Olszewski. But here for 2022,
Hold on, there is no race for 26.
Yeah, 4
26.
years.
But then no, because if Francho or any Democrat wins now, there's not going to be a Democrat that runs against him in a primary 4 years later and wins.
Francho is 70. Francho is 70.
Francho's a one-termer.
One-termer.
No offense to the guy.
Francho ain't going nowhere unless he dies in that office. Don't get that to us. He ain't going to leave after one term.
Okay, well, even still, if he chooses to go for the reelect, Johnny and Angela are both term limited anyway. And what else do they have to do besides run against him?
She has to leave in 26. She can't wait till. She got 4 years that she would have to wait if she waited to 2030. So what's she going to do for those 4 years?
She could run for AG.
Right.
She could absolutely run for AG.
I mean,
it's a place to sit. It's if you need a place to go until the governor's seat is open, it's a place to sit. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see that.
Hassan, I got some numbers.
I think that Angela is by nature a cautious beast politically. She always has been. And I think that she looks out and says, I just got here. COVID has kind of frozen a lot of what I would be doing to prepare to run for governor. I've got 2 white guys that have over $1 million. Maybe I sit this one out and do it in 4 years. That's what I think her calculation.
She's the only black female in the race. She has. Why isn't he be around that much longer, right? You take his population, he might, I ain't gonna say die. That's my man. I love him and we fight, but he ain't gonna be around that much longer, right? You gotta take advantage of it when you can. She's the only black female in the race. I mean, I'm telling you, she's got a hell of an advantage if you think about it from a political.
I think she'd be a strong candidate. I just don't think she pulls the trigger, not for 22. I could be wrong. You may be right, but I don't think so.
I'd like to see who her lieutenant governor candidate would be, though. That would be really interesting to see who she chooses as her. They'll probably have to be white. It probably will be from the LGBT community, if you ask me. That solidifies the entire Democratic Party. Black, female, white, LGBT. You got everything under the box right there. The question is, who is that person from this region? She's coming from Port Georgia, so who would that person be?
There isn't anybody. Eric's not overly gay. I mean, Eric's not gay. Cut it out. Y'all gonna get me in trouble. Next topic.
Oh boy! For everybody who's watching, this is your time to chime in. You only got about a couple minutes because we're waiting on the Democratic nominee for mayor. Let me, they chewed me out because the provost said next mayor. It was a mistake. And as I speak him up, he comes on. See how I'm telling you, man, I'm just nice with it. Me and his brother must be in sync because as soon as I talk him up, the man comes on. He is long famed. You haven't heard of who he is. Tito Jackson is in the building.
Brandon!
What's up, man?
What's going on, brothers? How are y'all?
What's happening, man?
I just 2 hours ago I got my hair cut, so I want you to know it's okay. It don't hurt. It don't hurt at all.
Two things. You can say it's okay, but I know how risky it is. But more importantly, for all the haters, not you, Sean, but your co-host, for every hater, there's 8 people that love it. So, and every time you say something, that's another 2 months.
Well, I'm gonna shut up.
Well, at least you keep it neat and tight. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's different.
Yes, you do.
If it was like the cruddy like these kids have these days, then I'd be kind of looking at you like you're crazy. Now, is that your brothers, the Jackson 5 behind you in that poster?
No, come on.
Who is that behind you? Oh, is that Malcolm? Muhammad?
There you go. Both Malcolm and Muhammad. Yeah,
Who's
and
the
me.
middle? And you? How you get that picture, man? They've been dead way before you was born.
Man, look, a young brother that on Instagram that does art did that, man. It's a good picture.
Oh, really?
It looks really nice, actually.
Yeah,
I
he's talented. He's talented. So I'll send it to you. So you can get we can get a painting of me beating you on the basketball court.
That'll never happen. But we can get the paint of dunking on you.
And Mr. McLaurin, since we on that note to start, if you really want me to cut my hair, if Hassan Giordano beats me in a one-on-one basketball game, I'll cut it. That's how confident I am.
I'm gonna throw Hassan's cigarettes away for the next month. Hassan, no more cigarettes.
I quit. I quit smoking.
Did you?
Look,
I'm on. Yeah, so we good.
But hold up. But I know y'all got questions. I know y'all got questions to ask me. I know that.
Yes,
but we got, and just because me and Hassan go back to Park Heights, I gotta bust his chops, right? Because there was a show during the election that I just happened to pop on, and my man Hassan said, it was bad enough he said I wasn't gonna win. Then he said I was coming third place. You remember that show? He said third place.
He did.
And you told him, I think he owe you something. I just want to remind you of that wages.
Thank you, Brandon.
That's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say. Ruth Quest, and look, you can eat outside, or you can get it delivered to your house, whichever way you want.
Thank you,
you ain't from Park Heights and you snitch it like that.
Thank
Park
you,
Heights,
man.
you not the
Thank you,
snitch.
Mr.
Come
Mayor.
on, man.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's my mayor. Yes. Thank you, Mr.
And
Mayor.
here's the funny part. You're gonna have to pay me or something because now I mistakenly said that you were gonna be the next mayor of Baltimore. They went up straight, and I've gotten phone calls on vacation the past 2 days.
Yeah.
Oh, you in Brandon Scott's camp now? Brandon Scott's pay. I said, I wish he was. I mean, goddamn, you make one little mistake and we're in your camp. So you're right. I did say you were. I thought you were gonna come in second, but I'm pushing Team Dixon. I gotta say that.
Look, you know how I roll. Ain't no love lost. When I would see you even doing that, that's how it is.
I don't know. You was a little salty when you saw me up Emerson Village Shopping Center talking about, yeah, what's up? like you and
hey, Mark,
or something.
He ain't telling you. He ain't telling you that like it's a whole camera crew with them. I'm like, yeah, I'm not about to talk in front of the cameras. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, see, don't try to help our mayor
out of America's Best Wings, Mark.
You leave my mayor alone.
Him and the councilman Burnett, and they came on both sides of me talking about, hey, what's up? All Team Dixon was gone. I was all by myself.
That's right. You was getting ready to get backed up Evanston Village.
We was out there giving out. We was out there giving out masks, man. Giving out masks.
Yeah, they were. And congratulations, man. It's well
Thank
deserved.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I know I talk a lot of trash, and everybody knows, I got a certain thing for Sheila. I will always support her no matter what she does. She really gave me my start in politics, so how can I not? But it was a good run. You two never, and I'm glad to see y'all never got into that whole
stuff back. No. It was never, and Hassan, that there's no beef between her and I, right? Everyone should and we said that a lot, right? Because it's really about what's best for the city. And I was very intent on that, and not, seeing people drag people down and all the crazy stuff that was happening in the campaign. I just told people that wasn't going to work for me. Like, we're not doing that. We're talking about moving the city forward, not trying to break down people personally. That is uncalled for. We got enough of that coming from that crazy fool in the White House.
No, to you, I will say this, to your credit, you ran an honorable race, win or lose. Even at times where I was like, Brandon's gonna lose this damn thing because he won't hit her back. You was just like, nah, I'm on my message. This is what I'm doing. This is what I bring. This is what and sometimes the candidate is right and the consultant is wrong. I was wrong about that. I wanted you to get on stage and start slapping each one of them right in a row.
Mark. Well, first of all, Mark, you listen. I'm 36. They would say I'm the angry black man. That was the first thing.
Yes.
And two, I'm a person that is respectful of our elders and always will have respect for Mayor Dixon because we have a relationship outside of this and understanding that I'm supposed to be able to be criticized by folks that came before me, my elders, and understand it, not take it personally. And that's what that's about for me. And that's how you got to move on, man, because if not, we'll end up and nothing will get done. It's just be people squawking all day.
You are so right. You are so right.
And I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm just keeping 100 with you. There was times, multiple times, behind closed doors, where the team was suggested that they go negative on you, because our polls showed that the race was between you two. Right?
Yeah, we knew that. Actually, we knew that. Yeah, we knew that. That's how it was.
You know, there were people who said you got to go negative on Brandon. You got to show a clear distinction between you two. And every time Sheila said, "No, I'm not doing that. Now, we're gonna keep it, 100. We're gonna keep it above board, and if the voters will, let it be." And that's why she was as upset with the loss as she was 4 years ago.
And that's all love, man. That's how, and it's the same for us. And I hate to break everyone else's spirit down, but we knew. We also knew internally that it was a 2-horse race from the get-go. There's no disrespect to everyone else, but it's about like doing things in decency and in order, as they say in the church, to make sure that you talk about the real thing and not making it into some personal fight.
Well, but before I get misinterpreted, let me be clear. Who I wanted you to slap out the box was Mary Miller, not Sheila Dixon. I was not in favor of you. I was not in favor of you swinging on Sheila because I think she would cut you. Okay, but Mary Miller, I thought she could have got a good shove off the stage and she would have stayed gone because she had no credibility to attack anyone and she was attacking everyone. And I just thought that. But I'm glad you stuck to your game. Obviously, you had the right plan. You and Marvin were right. I was wrong. I'll take that. Now, next.
Now, speaking of next, so we got an election coming up, right? November 3rd. So you are the Democratic nominee for mayor. You're not the mayor yet, but 99.9% you will be the next mayor of the city of Baltimore. It's never been another since 1950, since we've had a Republican. But here's the question. My first question. Because you're the council president right now. You've been on the council for a number of years. You were there when I passed a number of charter amendments. You were on the council at least 3 of them, including the last one that Bernard put in for the campaign finance. When did the number of votes change to pass charter amendments? Because it's always been 12 votes since I've known the charter to be. It's always been a supermajority that has to pass a charter amendment. When did that change?
So, from my understanding, Hassan, they were interpreting it wrong before. That was the explaining, because I actually asked the same question to the folks, the parliamentarian, all of those folks, and it was a misinterpretation of how they were taking the rules of the law at that time. And thank you for that, because not just that, the one that put opposite party folks on the board, that was a great charter amendment too. I think that brings to our boards and commissions that brought something different. But that is what I've been explained to by the folks, is that it was just a misinterpretation.
Yeah, because and don't forget to lower the age. That's my most proudful. 18-year-olds can vote in Baltimore.
Yeah,
to run for office.
Yeah, you can vote, but you can't run. Ain't that crazy?
That was idiotic. 21, you had to wait till you were 21. I'm glad that was changed. But so I wanted, because I noticed that some of the charter amendments that are on the ballot this fall that you guys passed, including the city administrator bill, did not get 12 votes. And I was wondering how they passed this charter amendments without getting a supermajority vote. So you're saying that it was misinterpreted and that it did 12 votes. Okay.
Well, so that's just a majority, but that's what they were saying to me. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry about that.
No. Thank you for the segue, Hassan. Speaking of charter amendments, Mr. Mayor, where the hell is the Board of Estimates bill? This is my challenge. I don't think, or I don't want to believe, that your enthusiasm for the idea has waned now that it's you that's going to wield the power of it. But for you to, what seemed to have been released from your office was what seemed to have been released from your office was, oh no, I think it's a great idea. We're going to do it later, which means, as you know, if you don't get it on the ballot this year, it's not on the ballot until 2022. And then I think, when does it go into effect? 2023. So basically, you're going to go through your first term with the Board of Estimates as currently constituted when you know that you ran against that system? And many of the people supported you, believing that Brandon was going to finally put an end to that system. And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to explain why that's now gone away. Or at least
Well, it's not gone away. Yeah. Let me just say that, Mark. For anyone that thinks that this is a change of heart or change of opinion, let me just remind folks that even though that piece of amendment did not move forward, we still did move forward the budget authority for the council. We moved forward with the veto and the veto number and the veto override amendment. So it's not a change about making sure that we have a best and new structure. But if you know me very well, you know when I do policy, I don't rush it and I try to do it the right way. This is the reality, and this is why I said we are going to figure it out before the term is up. And also would like to point out, even for it would still, if put on the ballot in 2022, align with the other significant changes, because the budget authority one also doesn't go into effect until that point, even though it's going to be on the ballot this year. So it's not, it's even though it's on the ballot this year, it doesn't go into effect until July 21 of 2022.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually aligning everything together. But this is the real on it. You know, I do research. You know, I was the chair of the National League of Cities, Large Cities Council. So I talk to folks about Board of Estimates and how they do their contracts and procurement. Only a few cities still have them, period. Mm-hmm. Only a handful, right? And when you look at the options of what is out there, we have to figure out how we can make the best system for Baltimore. For example, St. Louis, our sister independent city, has a 3-member Board of Estimates, right? But here's the kicker. When talking to their folks about like, hey, how do you guys deal with like tie votes and all these uneven votes and these things? They said, well, on big contracts, they said, well, the Board of Estimates doesn't do big contracts. There's a separate board of just the agency here that do that. Most major cities like, well, we just do those contracts in-house, right? And in Minneapolis that has it, they actually have a mixture of regular elected officials, meaning like mayor, council leaders, etc., elected members that are actually just people elected to be on the Board of Estimates, just like they were on the school board and things like that. And what we're doing, the tough work, is trying to figure out how we can make a better system for Baltimore, not just to do something in haste, just because, you know, everyone wants it to change. We have to do it the right way. We have a city government that's outdated and broken. And when you're talking about changing that kind of system for a $3 billion entity, you better do it the right way and dot your I's and cross your T's.
I appreciate that answer. I didn't even realize that the other doesn't come in until 2021. One last policy question, then I'll turn it back over to Hassan, and that is, I'm glad I was able to get a hold of you, because I was about to call the FBI because there's a little bill missing. It's called the Project Labor Agreement Bill. I've been putting it on Facebook every day, hoping someone from the council can tell me where Bill has gone. We've been searching for him. We've called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We've done everything. Nobody can find the PLA bill.
Good.
It
should be gone.
March. I'm sure that it's not the Labor Committee chair. Son, no. It's a duet. So
duet.
Explain to me, as you know, was supported very, very heavily by the labor community, because you see where this bill has gone. It was introducing.
Mark, are you done? Oh, all right, great. Listen, I think that what you should say first, I would say to you, I can hear you now. Thank you. I can hear you. Yeah, what I would say to you about that bill is, one, that you aren't hearing from your brothers and sisters in labor that they're complaining about the bill, but also you should check in, and bills move at a time that's appropriate. Just like my response from the last one, it's about making sure that things are done in decency and order, that things are done that make sure that impacts Baltimore and improves Baltimore for all citizens and impacts in a positive way, and the bill will be handled in that appropriate way as we move forward. I am not going to rush and do anything just because we are supporters of the idea of the supporters of a piece of legislation. I've pulled back bills before that were mine. This bill isn't actually technically my bill, but we have to do things the right way and make sure what's right for Baltimore. And I would just tell you to stay tuned on that one.
Support
Good.
PLA.
Don't
And
let the bill come back.
let me actually just correct the
No.
record.
You had your question. You gotta hold on with that. Take that bill out. Get rid of it. Now I know it got you and Shannon a lot of union support. Go ahead, Mark. Before you have
No, I just wanted to say, I wanted to tell him that people are not being honest with him, because I don't technically work for labor anymore. I have not been looking for Bill on my own initiative, okay? Now, maybe folks ain't being honest with you, but, I'm getting ready to name some names. I was put up to ask the question, and now I'm getting told, well, they're happy with it. Okay, well, that's fine with me. But I wanted you to know that I'm not asking that question because I'm just sitting at home wondering about it. There's folks in the labor community that are calling me with their mouth on fire about what happened to their PLA bill, but they're too scared to ask you. And I figured I'd just ask you because we go like that. That's all.
Well, speaking about putting people on blast, Michael Braverman's gone. The chief of staff is gone. Yeah, half the goddamn mayor's office is gone. And I got word today that they're all gone because while they worked for Bernard Jack Young, they supported you during the campaign. So have you had any validity to that? Have you heard anything about why these people were let go so rationally?
So what I would say is this, Hassan, is that as I said publicly last week, I wasn't notified until after these things happened. But in speaking with the mayor and his team, these decisions are not of a political nature. The reasoning behind it are his and his staff's and theirs alone, has nothing to do with Brandon Scott transition or anything like that. And we already know that we're going to be building a team to bring our city government into the new world, in the new century, in a post-COVID world, to make sure that we show a new way forward for Baltimore, bringing the best and the brightest, showcasing our talent that we have here in our city, uplifting of folks that look like Baltimore, that are from Baltimore, diverse women, everybody. That's the kind of team that we're going to build, of capable, competent people who will help our city government shine moving forward. But we have one mayor at a time, and we're just going to have to move forward accordingly.
Well, if you want the best legislative director in Annapolis, you're speaking to him, or even communication. We ain't gonna get into all that. But what I'm saying though is, I'm telling you what I heard today is that they were fired because they voted and supported you. So we're gonna move back.
I'm telling you that's not true, man.
I'm just saying.
I'm telling you that's not true.
Okay, and I'm sure Jack would tell me the same thing. But I'm telling you what the word on the street is they voted. They worked for Jack, but they voted for you.
It's not true.
Good. Now I gotta ask you this, because we're talking about word on the street. We're talking about rumors. We know that you wanted this city administrative bill, right? Where the city would have a city administrator. The mayor would not be so hands-on, so to speak. One, explain to people, because I don't think everybody understands what the city administrator actually does do, and it's before them on the ballot. But two, there's also a rumor that either J.D. Merrill or Peter O'Malley would be the city administrator. So I'm gonna let you speak to the rumors.
Oh, Hassan! Oh God!
Hey, we keep it real here. I ain't gonna sugarcoat because that's my man. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Let's just start there. First of all, I've said this before. The answer to that is simply no. And actually, if you read the legislation, they don't really even qualify for the job to begin with, right? I was very particular about that. And let me back up. What we are doing here is we are bringing Baltimore in line with our surrounding counties, all of the cities that we sit in between, in most major cities, and creating this. I actually have had conversations with the county executives around us, including one today, right? When we talked about and talking to mayors, and this is something that I learned about in my term as the chair of National League of Cities Large Cities Council, because not only would I be as a council person interacting with them, the mayors and the council people, but also the actual administrator. And I would learn, like, what happens in most governments is that the chief executive, right? If you look at Muriel Bowser in DC, who's the only functioning executive elected official in DC right now, her and her team right around her, they focus on the executive actions of the District of Columbia, the vision, the policy, all of those things. Her city administrator, he focuses on the operational stuff, making sure the trains move on time, holding the agencies accountable for their service. That's what we're bringing to Baltimore City. Not disrespecting anyone before, but separating those things out, making the person who is in that CAO role have to have a specific background and experience and ability to professionalize city government, to get out of allowing folks to hire any and everybody. And this is what I want people to understand. Again, in Philadelphia, and I spoke with former mayor of Philadelphia, Mayor Nutter, about this, they have what they call the managing director, which is a city administrator. DC has a city administrator. When you think about Baltimore County as a county administrator, in fact, when in Baltimore, we hear people all the time, it's like, why the city government can't be more like the county government, right? You hear that all the time, right? Well, Johnny O, our good friend, both his city administrator and his county administrator, both come from inside city government. One was at DSS here, the other was in the mayor's office of criminal justice. We're talking about professionalizing city government, and this is about building a foundation so that we can have a high functioning, efficient, effective government that operates a $3 billion entity. And you will not find another $3 billion entity where the CEO is the same person as the COO. It does not happen. That's what this is about. And let me set the rumor straight. Neither one of those individuals are even a thought about that position. This position is going to be a high-level professional that we will find either from here in Baltimore or from around the country, and people who have been proven that they can do that kind of job and are willing and open to a challenge of a city like Baltimore. We're trying to build a better Baltimore for everybody, not some.
See, y'all heard it right
and
here.
This is,
so when
and
they
I know
talk about
folks,
it,
so
DMV
and Hassan, let me also clear this up too. Let me clear this up. When a lot of folks say that, like, oh, this is a city manager. No, this is different. An administrator is not a manager. And you go to a town where there's a city manager, the city manager runs the town. The mayor is the boss of the city administrator. What the mayor says, go. When the mayor says, do this, the administrator figures out how to do that in a professional manner, right? And when a lot of folks say, well, you should have deputy mayors. It's not an either or. Perfect example. In DC, Mayor Bowser has a city administrator. We know DC city government is 50 times more functional than Baltimore city government right now. Her deputy mayors actually report up through the city administrator. This is not a foreign thing to the rest of the world, only to Baltimore. And we have to get out of saying, oh, we can't do that, we're different, this is Baltimore, and then say, oh, why aren't we like all these other places? We have to adapt policies and practice and structures, because we can't continue with this 1974 structure of government in 2020 and think it's going to be successful, because it's not.
Good point. Well, speaking of nuts and bolts of things, when you become mayor, after November 3rd, if you become mayor, so people don't get mad at me, can you please work with the governor? And I know the governor during the Pew administration gave the money to the criminal, she gave it to the criminal justice, whatever y'all got on.
MOCJ.
Right. But they dismantled the criminal justice coordinating council, which was the nuts and bolts of the entire criminal justice system in Baltimore. It completely went away. Can we please get the criminal? It only cost $2 million a year, and that was really only for operational costs and the 2 staffers that made it all work. But our court system has went haywire since the elimination of that. And I'm telling you, most people who have been on it, Bob Emery will tell you, he used to be there all the time. I used to see him there. Can we please at least have that conversation about reinstituting that coordinating council?
Well, we talked about that often in the campaign, Hassan, and it's something we're going to do. You have to have that coordination, right? And, I tried to come to the meetings, but the governor would have me kicked out. But we're going to leave that on the side. side for now. we're gonna bring that back, right? Because and we're gonna allow that to flow through MOCJ because in order to deal with the issues that we're having in violence and crime in the city of Baltimore, folks not only have to be talking together, you need someone that's gonna bring everyone together to hold people accountable, right? That's really the job. And we're also, I know you're gonna ask about this too. Yes, we're gonna have a high functioning city staff that holds the agencies accountable because that's the job of the executive to hold these agencies accountable because they work for the executive office. But to the crime thing, and this is a perfect example of that, right? I actually, and you heard me talk about this a lot, but I stumbled into a gun collaborative meeting in the beginning of 2019, and we were looking at all the null pros cases on the board. And I said, well, can anyone tell me how many of these cases were dropped because BPD screwed up, right? Which we know happens a lot. No one could tell me. So I said, can anyone tell me how many of the cases are because of issue? Maybe the state's attorney didn't prosecute this charge or another charge. No one can tell me, right? Only the person from the federal prosecutor's office could tell me how many were kicked to the feds, right? So I then said to them, like, well, we need somebody to actually do this. We should be doing that. And we fought for it and got it in the budget. And now there's an analyst that does that. But we're going to ramp that up because we need them coordinating all the time so that we know what's going on, so that we're seeing things ahead of time and not waiting for 50, 60, 70 incidents or something before it blows up in the media. You have to have a coordinating body to hold everyone accountable and make people work together in ways that they haven't in recent years.
One thing I wanted to ask you about before you go, I know we're bumping up against the time, but I was reading a very gifted journalist friend of mine wrote an article about the Baltimore City Democratic Central Committee, and he said that you had went down and testified in favor in front of the Credentials Committee for just one of the people that had appealed their dismissal um, to to be able to keep their seat. And I'm asking, as a member of the Democratic Central.
Hold on. Let me just interrupt you there. No, and actually, you can go back and pull it. It was on Zoom. It was 3. I said that Bilal, Robert, and Kalman Finkelstein should testify on all 3 of their behalfs for different
These journalists,
reasons.
you can't trust them these days. They got the story wrong. I apologize.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you because I did it.
No. You were right. You were right to interrupt me. I should have.
One thing I wanted to say before. I think
no,
it's something
important. And I want to say this.
Go ahead. Because I think it's another topic. Another topic that we gotta discuss because it's been breaking while y'all been on there before we get off, and I know it's important to you too. We only got 2 minutes.
You're going to Pence's speech?
No, man. What's going on with the NBA and MLB and the moment that we're in with Black Lives and Black Lives Matter? Like that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal. Not just Milwaukee, right? Like seeing the players just not gonna play, right? For a sports league is why the NBA is greater than all other sports leagues. But now seeing that transfer to baseball, this is really, and actually I'm really glad because this is probably gonna outshine Pence's speech tonight. That's a separate thing. But this is an important moment, right? Because there's a video now with Kenny Smith walking off the set. You're talking about billion-dollar industries that are now being impacted, and folks are going to have to pay attention to say, like, this is not going to be like it was before. We are not going to accept that these things, we're just going to brush this aside. That not only could this man get shot in the back by his kids, then some fool can just walk up to protesters
and shoot them in the head.
Shoot people in the head and get away with it. Like this is a moment in this country where people are having a reckoning with all of that. And for all the folks who are trying to act like this stuff isn't real, and all the folks who are trying to say like, oh, Black lives really don't matter because this and that. I'm telling you, you need to wake up because it's a different time. It's not going to be accepted anymore. And we have to do that real deep change in order for us to keep just keep people understanding that we can be better, because as the 3 of us know, it's exhausting being Black in America. It's damn sure exhausting being a young Black man in America, and to see that stuff over and over and over again, what we have going on, historical trauma, the stuff that we're living in, and in the midst of a pandemic, This is a turning and a breaking point, and people have to be, pushed. But I'm sorry. Go
You
ahead,
are so
Hassan.
right.
You
So
can ask the question now. I just had to get that out.
no, and that's what we were going to turn to is the Black Lives. I noticed downtown you had Black Lives Matter that's being put on the street right in front of City Hall as they had it blocked off the other day. What under your administration, besides the feel good stuff of that, what would this administration propose to really move Black lives forward, including against pushing back against those to say, well, if Black lives really mattered, then how come all we have all these black on black shootings, which to me is apples and oranges. It's not one and the same, which is a false argument if you ask me. But how are we going to handle that and the crime that we do see in the city of Baltimore that continues to escalate to the day?
Yeah, I think that it's two things. One is you and I both know, Hassan, the folks that say black on black crime, just they don't have a real understanding of how violence happens. Because if you're white, you're more likely to be killed by a white person. Like that's just the reality. It's the proximity. But when you talk about crime in Baltimore, right? You cannot talk about all the things that happen in the neighborhood that we grew up in, Hassan, and neighborhoods that people see across the city and separate that from Baltimore being the birthplace of racial inequity via poverty.
Yes.
This is why we passed my equity law. And the thing that I'm most excited about, Hassan, is being able to implement that and really put the city's money where our mouth is, not just on an operational sense, but on a capital sense. When you look at the disinvestment in in our neighborhoods and how they've been, and looking at identifying how we can support and build our neighborhoods up, how we can try to create more black home ownership, how we can create more jobs and businesses for black people to run and we have careers, and how we can make our education system what we need it to be, while simultaneously, yes, as you know, I'm going to focus with direct vigor on the folks who are committing, the small group of folks who are committing violence all the time. The people, let me also say this, the people that are trafficking the weapons into the city. I had the police department before the council last week, and 71% of the weapons that they have tracked back to their origin this year have an origin outside the city of Baltimore. So, and we all know the transportation issues that we have here in the city. We know that, JoJo or Hassan didn't go down to West Virginia or Pennsylvania or Virginia or Wisconsin or wherever to get this weapon. We're going to target those people as well. But simultaneously, we're going to do the tough work of actually helping to build better neighborhoods, dealing with the historical mental health, behavioral health, and trauma that we have. Understanding that we also have to deal with the other elephant in the room that people don't like to talk about, and that's substance abuse, and handling that in a different way, in a harm reduction approach way, because we lose more people, Hassan, to overdose than even the gun violence, but no one talks about it because we look at with substance abuse in a different way. Like that's the kind of way that we're going to operate through a lens of equity in everything that we do.
And I want to say this, and I truly mean this.
I'm excited.
I apologize if that was the case on the credentials. Your own, and I'm just going to put it out there since you put me under the bus and made me report falsely. Robert Church, your colleague, who you said that you testified on behalf of, he was the one who told me that you only testified on the behalf of that young man from the 41st district, Mr. Finkelstein.
You can go back and put it.
And
I spoke up for him, even though I went on for that individual. I spoke up for him and Delegate Ali as well.
Oh, you went on for the interview with him, but you spoke up. See, he made it appear as if you.
But he wasn't even. He probably wasn't in the defense of Robert. He probably wasn't even in the room because they were separating him out. So he probably wasn't there.
Oh, so you okay? So now when
he's never in the room. This is why he's getting
all right. So you testified on his hearing, but during that hearing, you testified on the behalf.
You mentioned,
you mentioned a lot. There you go. Okay. I just want to be clear because I don't like putting out false information at all, and I have to. So
it's fine.
But now we got that clear, and I wanted to make sure we had that.
Well, he said, "While you're pardoning this particular thing."
Mark must got
you going in and out.
Man. He got Boost Mobile.
While you're pardoning this Thanksgiving Day turkey, please.
You got
No, I got AT&T. I don't know.
Yeah, we keep saying that. Look, somebody else verified.
I gotta go because I have another Zoom. We 5 minutes over, and my people are going crazy. So go ahead, go ahead, Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, I got one last thing.
Last question.
Go ahead.
What? I was just going to ask you your thoughts on the release of Earl Thomas from the Ravens. Yeah.
Oh well, I think it's the right thing to do.
Since you seem to be
you can't have people disrupting the culture of the team. And I'm going to say this: I actually know, like they need that. They need to be able to have people, and it was the veterans that said he should go. So I think that you have to go with that. My last question to you, Hassan, is two questions for you really quickly as I leave. One, if they do finish the season and when the Lakers don't win, what are you gonna say for LeBron this time?
They're gonna win. Don't get that twisted.
If they finish the season,
where's your Boston Celtics at? What are they gonna do?
Well, unlike your Lakers, we swept in the first round. We didn't lose a game to the 8 seed, so we chilling at home. You don't have to.
What ball they playing though?
You have to. You playing the 8 seed. You don't have to boycott when you don't have we beat Joel Embiid.
Boston wasn't a real 8 seed though. Let's be honest though. Come on now.
Were they below 500 Hassan? They were.
So do we want to put a wager on who's going to win between the Lakers and the Celtics? Because I owe Mark dinner, so you can pay for that dinner.
Hey, we could talk about that off air. The sports betting question hasn't been approved. The last question the last thing I'm gonna ask you is first of all, before he plays me, Mark, and loses, right? Let's start that out. I'm gonna need to see a COVID test first, and then he can get that work. But when are you gonna take the test?
Yes.
And when you catch these buses?
Well, as soon as I get back from New York, I'll take the test. September 12th is Malik's birthday. We can play on my son's birthday, so I can whip your butt. I keep this on, and we'll do it on live stream.
That's good.
There it is.
No.
Thank you, everybody.
Put it down.
I hope Malik don't cry on his birthday.
No,
see y'all later, man.
You can't beat Malik's damn ass on his birthday. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Man, I'm gonna whip that ass on my son's birthday. You heard me? He just don't know. I'm gonna blow that afro right off his head, Tito Jackson. Anyway, always a pleasure, Mark.
Well, sir.
That's right. He can cut that off. All right, man. Have a good one. Until next